Ho wiped the grease from his hands and looked at the broken engine in front of him. It was a transport ship, and the owner had said it was impossible to fix. Ho had heard that word many times, impossible, but in his 34 years of life, he had learned that impossible was just another word for difficult. He worked alone in his small repair bay on Orbital 7, a massive space station that floated at the edge of known space. The station belonged to the Galactic Union, a government that included hundreds of alien species. Humans had joined the Union only 200 years ago. They were still considered newcomers, still considered weak. But Ho did not care what the aliens thought. He cared about machines. He understood them. When he touched an engine, he could feel what was wrong. It was a gift his mother had told him when he was young, a gift that made him valuable. The door to his repair bay opened and a tall figure walked in. Commander was with pale blue skin and 4 arms. She was his supervisor and she rarely visited him in person. This made Ho nervous. "Mechanic," she said. Her voice was cold as it always was when she spoke to humans. "I have a new assignment for you." Ho put down his tools. "What kind of assignment?" "A retrieval mission. There is a ship drifting at the edge of the hollow expanse. You will go there, attach your and bring it back to the station." The hollow expanse. Ho felt a chill run down his spine. Every spacer knew about that place. It was a region of dead space where navigation systems failed and ships disappeared. No one went there unless they had no choice. "What kind of ship?" he asked. "That information is classified." "What species does it belong to?" "Classified." Ho frowned. "Commander, I need to know what I am dealing with. Different species build different ships. If I do not know what I am looking at, I cannot." "You will figure it out," interrupted. "That is what you are good at, is it not? Fixing impossible things." She handed him a data chip. "The coordinates are here. The ship contains sensitive cargo. Do not open it. Do not investigate it. Simply bring it back. You leave in 1 hour." Before Ho could ask more questions, she turned and walked out. He stood there for a long moment, staring at the data chip in his hand. Something was wrong. He could feel it. In all his years working for the salvage division, he had never received an assignment with so little information. The Union was hiding something. He walked to the communications room and found his friend Park sitting at her station. Was a communications specialist, one of the few humans who worked in the command center. She was smart and careful, and she had helped Ho many times before. "I need a favor," he said. Looked up from her screen. "What kind of favor?" "I just got assigned to retrieve a ship from the hollow expanse, but the mission file is almost empty. Can you find out more?" His eyes widened. "The hollow expanse? Oh, that place is dangerous. Ships go in and never come out." "I know. That is why I need information." She hesitated, then turned to her console. Her fingers moved quickly across the keys. After a few minutes, her face grew pale. "The file is heavily redacted," she said. "Someone at the highest level has blocked access. I have never seen security this tight. Whatever this ship is, the Union does not want anyone to know about it." Ho felt his stomach tighten. "Can you find anything at all?" "Only one thing. The mission was flagged 6 months ago, but they waited until now to send someone, and they specifically requested you." "Me? Why me?" "I do not know, but Ho, this does not feel right. You should refuse the assignment." He shook his head. "If I refuse, they will fire me. And you know how hard it is for humans to find work in the Union. I have no choice." Grabbed his arm. "Then be careful, and contact me the moment you find something strange." 1 hour later, Ho sat in the cockpit of the steady hand. It was a small vessel built for towing damaged ships. It had no weapons, no shields, and only basic life support. But it was reliable, and Ho had kept it running for 15 years. He entered the coordinates and activated the hyperdrive. The stars stretched into lines, and then he was gone. The journey took 6 hours. When he dropped out of hyperspace, he found himself at the edge of the hollow expanse. It looked like a wall of darkness stretching endlessly in all directions. No stars, no light, just empty, dead space. His instruments began to flicker. The navigation system showed errors. The sensors gave false readings. This was why ships disappeared here. Without instruments, a pilot was blind. But Ho had prepared for this. He switched to manual navigation and used the stars behind him as reference points. Slowly, carefully, he flew into the darkness. For 2 hours he saw nothing. Then his proximity alarm went off. There was something ahead, something massive. He turned on his external lights and saw it. A ship, bigger than anything he had ever worked on. It was old, very old, with a design he did not recognize. The hull was covered in strange symbols, and the engines were dark and cold. But the ship was not dead. A faint light blinked on its hull, a distress signal. Ho checked the frequency of the signal and felt his blood turn cold. That frequency had not been used in almost 1,000 years. It was a frequency from the early days of human space travel. This was a human ship. With trembling hands, he ran the signal through his database. The computer searched for a match. It took only seconds. The result appeared on his screen, and Ho stopped breathing. The ship was the Eternal Promise, a colony vessel that had left Earth 928 years ago, carrying 12,000 people to a new world. It had vanished during its journey and was never found. For centuries, it had been a mystery, a legend, a ghost story that human parents told their children. And now it was here, floating in front of him, still sending its call for help. The Galactic Union had known. They had known exactly what this ship was, and they had sent him to find it without telling him the truth. Ho stared at the ancient vessel, his mind racing with questions. Why had the Union hidden this? What did they not want him to know? And most importantly, after 928 years, was anyone still alive inside? Ho tried to contact Orbital 7. He needed to report what he had found. He needed answers. But when he activated his communication system, he heard only static. Something was blocking his signal. He tried different frequencies. He tried emergency channels. Nothing worked. He was alone, cut off from the rest of the galaxy, floating next to a ship that should not exist. For a long moment he sat in silence, staring at the Eternal Promise through his cockpit window. The ship was enormous, at least 10 times bigger than his. Its design was old, from an era when humans were just beginning to explore space. But despite its age, the ship looked almost perfect. No damage, no decay, just cold metal floating in the darkness. Ho made a decision. He could not tow the ship without knowing what was inside, and he could not leave without understanding why the Union had lied to him. He put on his spacesuit and prepared to board. The emergency airlock on the Eternal Promise was still functional. Ho connected his and cycled through. When the inner door opened, he stepped into darkness. His helmet light cut through the black, revealing a long corridor. The walls were made of gray metal, covered in dust. The air was cold, colder than any ship he had ever entered, but his suit detected oxygen. Somehow, after 928 years, the life support system was still working. He walked slowly, his footsteps echoing in the silence. The corridor led to a large room filled with equipment. Control panels lined the walls, their screens dark and dead. But in the center of the room, a single light blinked. Ho approached it. It was a computer terminal, still active, still running on backup power. He touched the screen and it flickered to life. A voice spoke from the speakers. It was soft, calm, and female. "Welcome aboard the Eternal Promise. I am Mother, the ship's artificial intelligence. Please identify yourself." Ho cleared his throat. "My name is Ho. I am a mechanic from the Galactic Union Salvage Division. I was sent to retrieve this ship." There was a pause. "Galactic Union. I am not familiar with that organization. Please provide more information." It is the government that controls most of known space. Humans joined about 200 years ago. Another pause, longer this time. I see. Much has changed since we departed. Tell me, mechanic, what year is it? 3147. The AI was silent for almost a full minute. When it spoke again, its voice carried something that sounded almost like sadness. We have been lost for 928 years. I had hoped rescue would come sooner, but I am grateful you are here now. Ho looked around the dark room. Mother, what happened to this ship? Where are the passengers? Follow the corridor to your left. I will show you. He followed her instructions, walking deeper into the ship. The corridor opened into a massive chamber, so large that his helmet light could not reach the ceiling. And filling this chamber, row after row after row, were cryogenic pods. Thousands of them. Ho approached the nearest pod and wiped the frost from its window. Inside he saw a face. A human face. A woman, young, sleeping peacefully, her breath forming tiny clouds of mist. She was alive. The colonists are in stasis, Mother explained. All 12,000 of them. I have kept them sleeping since we became trapped in this region. It was the only way to preserve them until rescue arrived. Ho felt his legs grow weak. 12,000 people. 12,000 humans who had left Earth almost a millennium ago, hopping to find a new home. They had been sleeping all this time, waiting for someone to save them. How is this possible? He asked. How did you keep them alive for so long? The ship was designed for long journeys. Our original mission was to travel to a planet called 4, which would take approximately 50 years. I had enough supplies and power for 100 years of cryogenic sleep. When we became trapped, I reduced all non-essential systems to minimum power. I rationed carefully. I did everything I could. But 928 years. I know it should not have been possible. I have exceeded every limit of my design, but I could not let them die. They trusted me to protect them. Ho walked among the pods, looking at the sleeping faces. Men, women, children, families who had dreamed of a new life on a distant world. They had no idea how much time had passed. They had no idea that the world they left behind had changed beyond recognition. Mother, he said, what happened? How did you get trapped here? During our to-4, our navigation system suffered a critical failure. We were pulled off course and deposited in this region. I later discovered that this area, which you call the Hollow Expanse, disrupts all forms of faster-than-light travel. We could not escape. We could only drift and wait. A navigation failure, after only a few weeks of travel. Yes, I found the cause many years later when I had time to analyze the system logs. The failure was not an accident. Someone had deliberately modified our navigation computer before we departed. Ho stopped walking. Someone sabotaged your ship. Yes, the modification was hidden deep in the code, designed to activate during our first. Someone wanted the eternal promise to disappear. The words hung in the cold air. Ho thought about the mission he had been given, the missing information, the heavy security, the way the Union had sent him without telling him what he would find. Mother, do you know who did this? I intercepted communications many years ago from automated relay stations that still transmitted old messages. I have collected evidence. I know who was responsible. Tell me. I must ask you something first, mechanic. You said you were sent by the Galactic Union to retrieve this ship, but you did not know what you would find. You did not know about the colonists. No, they told me nothing. Then I must ask you a question, and I need you to answer honestly. The AI paused. Are you here to wake them, or are you here to make sure they never wake? Ho felt a chill that had nothing to do with the cold. What do you mean? I intercepted a transmission 3 days ago. It was sent from a Union station, using encrypted channels. The message ordered the retrieval team to confirm that all colonists were deceased, and if they were not deceased, The team was ordered to ensure they would never return. The words hit Ho like a punch to the chest. The Union had not sent him to rescue this ship. They had sent him to bury it. "No," he said, his voice shaking with anger. "No, I am not here to kill anyone. I did not know about any of this. I am just a mechanic. I fix things. I do not destroy them." Mother was quiet for a long moment. "I believe you, mechanic. I have been watching you since you boarded. Your heart rate, your body language, your reactions. You are telling the truth. You are not a killer." "Then help me understand. Why does the Union want these people dead?" "Because if they wake up, they will tell the galaxy what really happened. They will reveal the crime that was committed 928 years ago, and the ones responsible, or their descendants, will be exposed." Ho looked at the sleeping colonists, innocent people who had done nothing wrong. They had simply wanted a better life, and someone had tried to erase them from history. He clenched his fists. "Tell me everything, Mother. I need to know the truth." Mother began to speak, and the truth was worse than Ho could have imagined. 928 years ago, humans had just discovered faster-than-light travel. They were eager to explore the galaxy and find new worlds to colonize. The Eternal Promise was one of the first colony ships. We were sent to a planet called 4, a world rich with resources and perfect for human life. Ho listened carefully, leaning against one of the cryogenic pods. But humans were not alone in the galaxy. There were other species, older and more powerful. One of them was the Confederation. They had been watching Earth for centuries, and they had already claimed 4 for themselves. However, they had not yet colonized it. It was simply marked on their maps as future territory. So when humans sent a colony ship there, it created a problem, Ho said. Yes, they were furious. They threatened war. But war with them would have destroyed humanity. We were too young, too weak. We could not fight them and survive. What happened? The leaders of that time made a decision. They called themselves the Council of Species, the organization that would later become the Galactic Union. They decided that the Eternal Promise must disappear. If the colonists never reached 4, there would be no conflict. They would have their planet, and humanity would be spared from war. Ho felt sick. They sacrificed 12,000 innocent people to avoid a war. Yes, a technician working for the Council secretly modified our navigation system. When we made our first, we were pulled into the hollow expanse instead of traveling to 4. The plan was perfect. We would drift forever in dead space, and no one would ever know what happened to us. But you survived. I survived. The colonists survived. Against all odds, I kept them alive, and I found the evidence of what was done to us. Mother displayed files on the terminal screen. Documents, communications, orders signed by officials who had been dead for centuries. The proof was undeniable. The Council of Species, the founders of the Galactic Union, had deliberately sent 12,000 humans to their deaths. If this information becomes public, Mother said, it will destroy the foundation of the Galactic Union. The current leaders are the political descendants of those who made this decision. They have built their power on the myth that the Union protects all species equally, but this proves they are willing to sacrifice anyone for their own interests. Ho understood now. The Union did not want the Eternal Promise found because they did not want this secret revealed. They had sent him to confirm the colonists were dead, and if they were alive, he was supposed to make sure they stayed silent forever. But Ho was not a murderer. He was a mechanic. He fixed things, and right now he needed to fix this. He walked to a communication terminal and tried to contact through an encrypted channel he had set up years ago. The signal was weak, but it broke through. Ho's voice crackled through the static. "Are you alive? We lost your signal hours ago." "I am alive. I found the ship. It is the Eternal Promise. The colony ship that vanished 928 years ago, and the colonists are still alive, all 12,000 of them." There was silence on the other end. then spoke, her voice barely a whisper. "That is impossible. I am looking at them right now. They are in cryogenic sleep. The ship's AI has kept them preserved all this time." "Oh, this is incredible. This is the greatest discovery in human history. We need to tell everyone." "There is more. The ship was sabotaged. The Galactic Union, or the organization that became the Union, deliberately sent these people to die. And now they have sent me to finish the job." Another silence. When spoke again, her voice was shaking. "I checked the mission files again after you left. You were right. Something was wrong. The mission was approved at the highest levels. Council members I have never even heard of signed off on it. I need you to do something for me. I need you to dig deeper. Find out who authorized this mission. Find out who is trying to bury this ship." "I will try. But if what you are saying is true, these people will do anything to stop you. You need to be careful." "I know. I will contact you again when I can." He ended the transmission and turned back to Mother. "Can you wake any of the colonists? I cannot do this alone. I can wake essential crew members only. The captain, the pilot, the chief engineer, and the medical officer. Waking more would drain our power reserves." "Do it." The process took 2 hours. Ho watched as 4 cryogenic pods began their wake-up sequence. Lights flashed, machines hummed, and slowly the sleepers began to move. The first to open her eyes was a woman with gray hair and a face lined with age. Even in sleep, she had aged, though much slower than normal. She looked at Ho with confusion and fear. "Who are you?" she asked, her voice rough from centuries of silence. "Where am I?" Ho helped her sit up. "My name is Ho. I am a mechanic. I found your ship." "The Eternal Promise. What happened? Did we reach 4? Ho looked at her and his heart broke. How could he tell her the truth? How could he explain that everything she knew was gone, that centuries had passed, that her entire world had changed while she slept? "No," he said gently. "You did not reach 4. There was a problem with the navigation system. You have been drifting for a very long time." "How long?" He paused. 928 years. The woman stared at him. Then she laughed, a broken, disbelieving sound. "That is not possible. That is not possible. I am sorry, but it is true." The other 3 colonists were waking now. A young man named I Am Sung, the pilot, a woman named the engineer, and an older man named the medical officer. They all had the same reaction: shock, denial, then, slowly, acceptance. The gray-haired woman was Captain Shin Bora. She had been in command of the Eternal Promise when it departed Earth. She was supposed to lead her people to a new home. Instead, she had led them into oblivion. 928 years, she said, sitting in the command center with the others. "Everyone we knew is dead. Earth must be completely different now. Our families, our friends, our entire civilization, all gone." "Not all of it," Ho said. "Humans are still here. We have spread across the galaxy. We have joined something called the Galactic Union. Humanity survived." "But we did not," Captain Bora said bitterly. "We were forgotten." "You were not forgotten, you were hidden." Ho explained what Mother had told him: the sabotage, the political deal, the cover-up that had lasted for almost 1,000 years. When he finished, Captain Bora's face was hard with anger. "They murdered us. They sent us to die in this void, and then they erased us from history." "Yes. And now they have sent you to make sure we stay dead." Ho met her eyes. "They sent me, but I am not going to do what they want. I am going to bring you home." Captain Bora studied him for a long moment. Then, slowly, she nodded. "Mother told me about you while I was waking. She said you are a man who fixes impossible things." "I try." "Then tell me, mechanic, how do you plan to fix this?" Ho spent the next 12 hours working on the Eternal Promise's engines. They were old, built with technology that had not been used for centuries. But engines were engines. The basic principles had not changed. and Ho understood engines better than he understood anything else in the universe. The ship's engineer worked beside him. She was smart and quick, and she knew every system on the ship. Together, they checked connections, replaced damaged parts, and slowly brought the ancient engines back to life. "This ship was built to last," said, wiping sweat from her forehead. "Our engineers designed it for a 50-year journey. They never imagined it would need to survive for almost 1,000. "They built it well," Ho agreed. "The core systems are still functional. If we can get the main engines running, we can fly out of here." "But the navigation system was sabotaged. How do we know where to go?" "I mapped a path through the hollow expanse when I came in. I used the stars outside as reference points. It is not perfect, but it should work." Looked at him with surprise. "You navigated through this place manually, without instruments." "I have done it before. Not here, but in other dead zones. When you work in salvage, you learn to fly blind." In the command center, Captain Bora was reviewing the evidence Mother had collected. Sung sat at the pilot station, studying the controls. Checked on the sleeping colonists, making sure their pods were stable. They were a small crew, only 5 people against an entire galaxy, but they were determined. They had lost 928 years of their lives. They would not lose anything more. Ho's communicator crackled. It was. "Ho, I have bad news. The Union has sent a recovery team, 3 military frigates fully armed. They are heading to the hollow expanse right now." Ho felt his blood run cold. "How long until they arrive?" 6 hours, maybe less. "Ho, these are not rescue ships. They are warships. The mission orders say they are supposed to recover or destroy any evidence. That means you. That means the colonists. That means everything. Can you stop them?" "I tried. I filed complaints. I contacted journalists, but everything is being blocked. Someone very powerful does not want this story to come out." She paused. "Ho, I am sorry. I think you need to run." "We cannot run. The engines are not ready yet." "Then make them ready. Because if those frigates catch you, no one will ever know the truth." Ho ended the call and gathered the crew in the command center. He explained the situation. 3 warships, 6 hours. Their only chance was to fly before the frigates arrived. Captain Bora listened calmly. When Ho finished, she turned to, "How long until the engines are operational?" 4 hours if we push hard, maybe 3. "Then we push hard." They worked without rest. Ho and stayed in the engine room, forcing old systems to work beyond their limits. Sung prepared the navigation console, inputting the manual route Ho had mapped, monitored the cryogenic pods, making sure the colonists would survive the journey. Captain Bora coordinated everything. Despite 928 years of sleep, she was still a commander. She gave orders. She made decisions. She kept her crew moving even when they were exhausted. 3 hours and 47 minutes later, the engines rumbled to life. "We have power," reported, her voice filled with relief. "Not full power, but enough to move." "Sung, prepare for departure," Captain Bora ordered. "Navigation is set. We are ready to fly." Ho looked at the steady hand, still attached to the eternal promise. He had a choice to make. He could detach his ship and fly away. He could escape before the frigates arrived. No one would blame him. He was just a mechanic who had stumbled into something bigger than himself. But if he left, who would guide them through the expanse? Sung was a good pilot, but he did not know this region. He did not know the tricks Ho had learned from years of salvage work. Ho made his choice. He detached the steady hand and let it drift. He would stay on the eternal promise. He would see this through to the end. "What are you doing?" asked. "Cutting myself loose. I cannot fly 2 ships at once." "You are giving up your ship." "It is just a machine. These people are more important." The eternal promise began to move, slowly at first, then faster. The ancient engines groaned with effort, but they held. Sung followed Ho's navigation data, steering carefully through the dead space. They had traveled for less than an hour when the proximity alarm sounded. 3 contacts, Sung reported. Coming in fast, they are military frigates. Captain Bora looked at the sensor display. They found us faster than expected. They must have been closer than thought, Ho said, or they have better sensors. Can we outrun them? No, they are newer and faster, but I have an idea. He explained his plan. The hollow expanse disrupted navigation systems. The frigates were using advanced sensors to track the Eternal Promise, but those sensors would fail if they went deeper into the dead zone. If Ho could lead them into the worst part of the expanse, the military ships would lose their way. It is dangerous, Sung said. If we go too deep, we might not get out either. I know, but I have navigated this region once already. I can do it again. Captain Bora considered the plan, then she nodded. Do it. Sung changed course, steering toward the heart of the hollow expanse. The darkness grew deeper. The sensors flickered and died. Even the stars disappeared. Behind them, the frigates followed. They are gaining on us, Sung reported. Stay on course. They will lose tracking soon. The first frigate fired. A blast of energy shot past the Eternal Promise, missing by only a few hundred meters. The ship shook from the shockwave. They are trying to disable us, said. Return fire, Captain Bora ordered. We have no weapons. Then all we can do is run. Another blast hit them, this time striking the hull. Alarms screamed. Lights flickered. Hull breach on deck 7, Mother reported. Sealing compartment. Ho watched the navigation display. They were almost at the deepest part of the expanse, just a little further, just a few more minutes. A third blast hit the engines. The ship lurched violently, screamed. Engine 2 is offline, Mother said. We are losing speed. Keep going, Ho urged. We are almost there. The frigates were right behind them now. Ho could see them through the rear cameras, 3 deadly shapes cutting through the darkness. Their weapons glowed, preparing for another volley. Then suddenly the lead frigate veered off course. Its lights flickered. Its weapons went dark. They have lost tracking, Sung said, his voice filled with hope. Their sensors are failing. The second frigate also lost control, spinning wildly as its navigation system crashed. The third tried to retreat, but it was too late. The expanse had them. They are blind, Ho said. They cannot follow us anymore. Captain Bora allowed herself a small smile. Then, let us get out of here before we suffer the same fate. Ho took the navigation console. His hands moved quickly, making adjustments based on memory and instinct. The expanse was a maze of dead space, but he had walked this maze before. He knew the way out. Behind them, the Eternal Promise groaned under the damage, but it was still flying. After 928 years of waiting, it was finally going home. The journey out of the hollow expanse took 8 hours. 8 hours of flying through darkness, guided only by Ho's memory and instinct. 8 hours of praying that the damaged engines would hold. 8 hours of watching the stars slowly return. When they finally emerged into normal space, Sung let out a cry of relief. We are out, we made it. But they were not safe yet. The third frigate is still behind us, Mother reported. It found its way out of the expanse. It is pursuing. Captain Bora looked at the sensor display. The military ship was damaged but still functional, and it was faster than the Eternal Promise. We cannot outrun them, Sung said. And we cannot fight them, added. Ho stared at the approaching frigate. After everything they had survived, after 928 years of waiting, it would end like this. Shot down by their own people, silenced forever. Unless... Mother, he said, you have the evidence, the proof of what the Union did. Can you transmit it? Yes, but to whom? The Union controls all communication channels. Not all of them. There are independent stations, news networks, planets that are not part of the Union. If we can broadcast the evidence on an open channel, everyone will see it. Captain Bora understood immediately. If the truth is public, they cannot silence us. Destroying us would only prove that we were telling the truth. Exactly. Do it, Mother. The AI began transmitting. Every frequency, every relay, every station in range. The evidence of the 928-year-old crime flowed out into the galaxy, unstoppable and undeniable. Documents showing the sabotage, communications between council members, orders to sacrifice 12,000 innocent humans to avoid a war. The proof was overwhelming. The frigate commander must have received the broadcast because the ship suddenly slowed. Its weapons powered down. They have stopped, Sung said, confused. Why have they stopped? Because they know, Captain Bora said. They know that if they destroy us now, the whole galaxy will see them as murderers. The evidence is already out there. Killing us will only make things worse. The frigate held its position for a long moment. Then, slowly, it turned and flew away. They were safe. Ho collapsed into a chair, exhausted. Around him, the crew was cheering, hugging each other, crying with relief. But Ho could only stare at the stars outside the window. What happens now? Asked. Captain Bora took a deep breath. Now we go where we were always meant to go. 4. The planet was 2 weeks away at their current speed. Ho spent those 2 weeks repairing the ship, getting the damaged systems back online. It was slow, difficult work, but he did not mind. Every repair brought them closer to their destination. During the journey, news came from across the galaxy. The broadcast had caused chaos. The evidence was everywhere. People were demanding answers. Politicians were making statements, some everything. Others called for investigations. The Galactic Union was facing the biggest crisis in its history. 3 council members resigned. 2 more were arrested. And for the first time in centuries, humans across the galaxy were questioning the government they had trusted. Contacted Ho on the 5th day. Her face appeared on the screen, tired but smiling. You did it, she said. The truth is out. Everyone knows what happened. I just found the ship. Mother had the evidence. But you made the choice. You could have walked away. You could have let them bury this forever, but you did not. Ho shrugged. It was the right thing to do. The Union is offering you a pardon, you know. They want to pretend this never happened. They are willing to give you your job back, your ship back, everything you lost. What about the colonists? They are being recognized as heroes, survivors of a terrible crime. The Union cannot touch them now. There would be riots. Ho nodded slowly. Good, that is what matters. So what will you do? Will you come back? He thought about it. His old life seemed very far away now. His repair bay on Orbital 7, his routine jobs, his small, quiet existence. It had been comfortable, safe, but it had also been empty. No, he said finally, I am staying with them. Smiled, I thought you might say that. When they reached 4, Ho stood in the observation deck and watched the planet grow larger in the window. It was beautiful, with blue oceans and green continents and clouds that swirled like paint on a canvas. A world perfect for human life. A world that had been waiting for 928 years. Captain Bora stood beside him. It looks exactly like the pictures, she said softly. The scouts sent images before we left Earth. I used to look at them every night, imagining what it would be like to live there. Now you will find out. She turned to look at him. Mechanic, I want to ask you something. Yes. The colonists will need help building a new home. We have farmers and doctors and teachers and engineers, but we do not have anyone like you, someone who can fix anything, someone who never gives up. Ho felt something warm spread through his chest. What are you asking? I am asking you to stay, be our chief mechanic, help us build something new on this world. She paused. You saved us, now let us give you a home. He looked at the planet below, then back at the captain. This woman who had lost everything, who had slept for centuries, who had woken to find her entire world gone. She was offering him a place among her people, a purpose, a family. "Yes," he said, "I will stay." The eternal promise descended through the atmosphere of 4. The colonists were waking now, thousands of them, stepping out of their cryogenic pods to see the world they had dreamed of for so long. There were tears. There was laughter. There were prayers of thanks. Ho helped where he could, fixing equipment, setting up shelters, building the first structures of what would become a new civilization. The work was hard, but it was good work, meaningful work. Months passed. The colony grew. Houses became villages. Villages became towns. The colonists adapted to their new home, learning its secrets, making it their own. One evening, Ho sat on a hill overlooking the settlement. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple. He had never seen anything so beautiful. His communicator beeped. He looked at the screen and smiled. She had finally arrived. "I am at the landing pad," her voice said. "Where are you?" "I am watching the sunset. Come join me." A few minutes later, she climbed the hill and sat beside him. They did not speak for a long time. They did not need to. They just watched the colors change and fade, two humans on a world far from Earth, surrounded by people who had been lost but were now found. "You know," said eventually, "when you left for that mission, I thought I might never see you again." "So did I. But here we are. Here we are." She leaned against him. "Do you regret it, giving up everything?" Ho thought about his old life, his small repair bay, his routine jobs, the steady hand still drifting somewhere in the hollow expanse. He had lost all of it. But he had gained something more, a purpose, a people, a place where he belonged. "No," he said, "some things are worth saving, even when they tell you not to." Smiled. Below them, the lights of the colony flickered on, tiny stars in the growing darkness. And somewhere in orbit, Mother watched over them all, the faithful guardian who had waited 928 years for this moment. Her mission was finally complete. The colonists had found their home, and so had Ho.